From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your evening update.
You want to go where to buy a new refrigerator? Steve's A to Z Appliance in Cottonwood? In Cottonwood? Just a 10-minute drive. And they'll save us money. New and used, honest, reliable, factory-trained repair service and parts, and they'll save us money. And dispose of this thing? We gotta make the short drive to Steve's A to Z. Thanks, son.
Steve's A to Z Appliance, front and main streets in Cottonwood. Drive a little, save a lot.
Well, good evening, everyone. Today may very well be the last day the valley sees 100 degrees for the rest of the year. Now, there's no guarantees on that. We're still going to be looking at pretty warm conditions again tomorrow. But as we go through the rest of the week into this weekend, we'll probably start to see temperatures drop and below 100 degrees, but still warm into the 90s as we go into the weekend. We'll get more on that here in your deeper dive forecast. Let's get you right through Kruger's Quickcast here, though, and get you through tonight and into tomorrow. So tonight, yeah, we're going to be dropping down to the low to even some mid-60s. So another coolish night, if you will, for the valley. Even cooler in the mountains, 40s, even some 50s in there. Low 50s tonight for the coast. And the coast, by the way, most likely not seeing any fog. So it should be a clear night and clear morning for the coast as well. Out the door tomorrow morning, there you can see mid-60s for the valley, mid-50s for Trinity County, and it looks like in the mid-40s out in Modoc County. Otherwise, low 50s for the North Coast, Siskiyou County, and the Eastern Mountains. All right, so let's take a look at Futurecast, because we do have some interesting things happening over the next couple of days. Not much going on, of course, here as we take you through tonight, but eventually we could see some rain in there, maybe by Friday, a slim chance. Stick around for the deeper dive forecast. We'll take a closer look at that. But for tomorrow, it's dry. It's going to be hot, but at least we're dropping below 100 degrees, mid to upper 90s in the valley. Temperatures in the 70s and 80s for the higher elevations. And for the coast, temperatures somewhere in the mid to even some upper 60s. So still keeping it warmish, if you will, for the coast. Here's your 7-day outlook. Look at that. We're below 100 degrees. No triple digits in the next 7 days. In fact, temperatures dropping mid 90s by the time we get to Friday through at least Tuesday. Low 90s by the time we get into Wednesday. And look at Chico. You could drop down to the upper 80s by next Wednesday. So quite a dip in our temperatures as we get to the middle and latter part of next week. Your 7-day outlook for the coast, basically mid-60s, although cooler by Tuesday, Wednesday in the low 60s. And it looks like cooler weather for inland and also for Trinity County. Should be back down to the 80s by the time we get to the weekend and early next week. For Mount Shasta, El Terrace, and Susanville, we're dropping down into the 70s by Wednesday for Mount Shasta, as well as El Terrace, and right around 80 degrees for Susanville. So again, it's that downward trend in our temperatures as we do go in the longer range. All right, that's your quick cast. Now let's go into our deeper dive. All right, so today, as I mentioned, may possibly be the last triple-digit high for the year for many of us in the valley. I think today may be the last day. Tomorrow may be borderline because it's still going to be pretty hot, upper 90s in some spots here, but we could pretty much say goodbye to those triple digits, most likely for the rest of the year. No guarantees on that. A gradual drop in our temperatures, but still hot. And of course, we'll see those temperatures still at least in the mid-90s. Highs closer to normal to near normal, right, as we get to the middle to latter part of next week, and then the potential for some bigger changes near the end of next week. Bigger changes in the sense of much cooler temperatures, maybe some rain in there as well. All right, so let's start off with our fire weather risk. We're not in the out of the woods yet as far as fire danger is concerned, and the fire season, we're still in it. So you can see those winds for tomorrow afternoon. They're actually picking up out of the south, the east side of the valley. Also pretty gusty in the eastern mountains. In fact, as we go into Friday, the winds die down for the valley, but we've got even stronger winds in the eastern mountains for Friday afternoon. So let's take a look at the humidity. Again, stronger winds for tomorrow, low humidity. We're down to the single digits, mid-teens for the eastern mountains. For Friday, still very low, into the single digits for the valley, mid to upper teens for the eastern mountains. So, winds picking up, humidity is going to be low. What does that mean for our fire weather risk? Yeah, the temperatures are dropping, but it's still hot. So on Thursday, look at that. We've got on the high to even very high range. We're getting those deeper shades of oranges indicated here in the valley. And you can see Siskiyou County, central Siskiyou County, Shasta Valley. Some high fire danger there as well. And you can see we're starting to see more yellows popping up there in the eastern mountains. Now take a look at Friday. Friday around 2 p.m. There you can see some of the higher fire danger, but it's not as high for the valley, but higher fire danger in the eastern mountains. Why? Again, because those winds are picking up, low humidity and still fairly warm too, and also some of that moderate to high in central Siskiyou County. Still looking at that high category here for the valley as we go into Friday evening as well. All right, so here's a look at futurecast. Remember I was talking about the chance for rain? Let's talk about that. Of course, we're not talking about it here for tomorrow, right? It's going to be dry, it's going to be sunny. Even the coast tomorrow morning, looking at clear skies. But check this out. We're seeing some clouds coming in from the south and west by 6 a.m. on Friday. And what's this? Maybe a few showers developing just to our south early in the morning on Friday. All right, now we're going to take you to around the noon hour on Friday. A few showers trying to pop up, even for parts of the valley. Now, this is going to be few and far between if we even see anything. The thing is, the atmosphere is so dry that even if any of these should develop, most likely it won't even reach the ground. But you'll notice we are seeing clouds, so we'll call it at least partly cloudy, but more sunshine as you head to the north in Siskiyou County and not to mention mostly the north coast. 6 p.m. on Friday, still some clouds lingering around, but I expect most of that will be gone by Saturday. So what's going on? Well, what we've got here, you can't really see anything really developing at this point, but there's high pressure over the desert southwest. The flow around that high is pushing some of that, I wouldn't even necessarily call it monsoon moisture, just some subtropical moisture that's moving on in. And that's going to give us the cloud cover that we were talking about. But again, this particular forecast model not even showing any chances for rain. All it's going to say to our north with a different system up to the north of us. But bottom line, more clouds, slightly cooler temperatures, and maybe a chance for a sprinkle here and there. And then by Saturday, as I mentioned, it's all pretty much gone. So with all of that said, we're still looking at drier than normal conditions here in the long range, and that ridge of high pressure that's been over us, it's actually weakening. The ridge of high pressure over the eastern Pacific is pretty much gone. We still have the high pressure over the desert southwest. That's at least expanding into our area. That's why it's staying fairly warm. But this right here, this is what's squashing that ridge of high pressure and preventing that from moving on in. That moves out, and even though we really don't see this one really overtaking even the Pacific Northwest, you can kind of see this ridge of high pressure, but it's a weak one. It's not very strong. So yes, temperatures will still be on the warm side, but still probably somewhere in the mid-90s for most of us in the valley, and in the 70s and 80s for the higher elevations. But then as we go through next week, Monday, Tuesday through Thursday, look at this. You see how this cooler air is just slowly migrating in our direction. What it's doing is preventing this from building in, and we will eventually start to see some of this cooler air also begin to move in. So instead of those mid-90s, we're talking about 80s in the valley as we get into the end of next week. And some of the long-range forecast models are indicating maybe even a chance for some rain by next Friday or that next Saturday. We'll see. I mean, not guaranteed, and even that cooler solution is not guaranteed. You can still see the Climate Prediction Center still has us in that above normal category for the next 10 days. But take a look at the 10-day trend, right? So again, most likely below 100 degrees tomorrow. Mid-90s, though, as we go all the way through Tuesday of next week, just kind of leveling out there. And then we start to see that downward trend. Upper 80s by Thursday, low 80s by next Friday into that next Saturday. We'll take that. It's not guaranteed, as I mentioned. And could we be introducing maybe a chance for some rain in there? It's not out of the question either, but not guaranteed. But a pattern worth watching and getting more confidence in this cooler solution because we're seeing more consistency with that. And the forecast models are agreeing as well. All right, so we'll take it. Fingers crossed, right? The wave heights were fairly high. That's why we had the small craft advisory. Let me take you back to that because I wanted to illustrate here that these wave heights are going to be dropping. So as we go through the day on Thursday, you see how the wave heights are dropping. So most likely the small craft advisory will be allowed to expire. And then going into your Friday, they drop even more. So we still have the small craft advisory, but that'll be the case here as we go through the evening and into tomorrow morning. Northwest winds for your Thursday out of the northwest at about 5 to 10 knots. Waves to the north at 7 feet at 9 seconds and from the west at 7 feet at 13 seconds. Okay, so now we take a look at our forecast for tonight. We're dropping down to the low to mid 60s in the valley, 40s and 50s for the higher elevations, low 50s along the coast. Clear skies even for the coast tonight. Here's your Trinity County neighborhood forecast. It's still warm, right? We're still in the 90s for most of us, but 87 for Mad River, 96 for High and Palm. There you can see Trinity Center about 92, 93 for Lewiston. But temperatures dropping down into the upper 80s by Monday, Tuesday, and mid 80s by next Wednesday. Your North Coast neighborhood forecast, 78 degrees for Blue Lake, 67 out towards Eureka, Garberville about 96, and Alder Point 97 degrees. Up north, 91 for Gasquet, 77 Smith River, 96 in Orleans, and there you can see Willow Creek about 99 degrees. All right, let's take you off to Siskiyou County, 88 for Fort Jones, Etna about 89, Happy Camp 94. There you can see the I-5 corridor right here, mainly in the mid to upper 80s for those daytime highs. Let's take you off into Modoc County. There you can see 85 for Fort Bidwell, 86 in El Turris, and Canby, a high of about 86 degrees. And your eastern mountains, neighborhood forecast, 80s and 90s. Look for a high of about 80 for Viola, that's the cooler spot, 90 in Susanville as well as Doyle, 94 in Quincy, and Paradise, a high of about 91 degrees. All right, your valley neighborhood forecast brought to you by Walgamuth Painting. You know, your temperatures should be in the mid to upper 90s. So yeah, looks like we're going to steer clear of the triple digits for most of us. Now, could some of us still touch 100 degrees tomorrow? You know, it's not out of the question. When we're forecasting high of 98, 99, yeah, okay, maybe touching 100 degrees, but we'll see. We'll see. But I think for the most part, today's the last day, maybe tomorrow for some. All right, 97 for Red Bluff. All right, let's take a look at that 7-day outlook for Redding. And what you're going to see here, those temperatures are dropping. But staying in the mid-90s, basically 94 to 96 for Friday through next Tuesday, low 90s by next Wednesday, and dropping even more by the time we get into next Thursday and Friday. That's your evening update. I'll be back tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. and live on Coffee with Kruger at 7 a.m. Have a good night.
Wiggly mouth.
Woggy mouth.
No.
Painting.
Wiggy mouth.
It's Woogie Moth Painting.
It's Walgamuth Painting, and yes, we'll paint anything.